retail with the catalogues? Well, Michael has always said retail is king, and they did launch with a catalogue. Don't misunderstand though, online is important. However, if you master the catalogues, there are lots of people who will do one or the other, some will do both. And probably the quickest way, as we've always said, is do both. So all we want to do when we're showing you how to do catalogues is to help you achieve whatever you are looking for, which is why it's so important that people, when you introduce people into your business, you ask them, not once, not twice, but several times, what are you looking for? Even if it's just a case of you pretend you didn't hear them properly the first time, because you often get a different answer once people have thought about it a wee bit more. You do get 50 free catalogues with your kit. You can add to those catalogues. I think they're £5 for 50, so it's not overly expensive. But when you only have 50 catalogues, we do suggest that you give them to people either that you know or at least knock on doors. It's always start in your own local area. You don't get lost in your own local area. You know which houses are empty. You know where to go. So it's just familiarity. It makes sense. And then once you put your first order through, you'll get another 150 free books. So once you've got those 50 books, you could start off by writing a list of everyone that you could give a book to. People that you see regularly though. If it's someone you see once a month, kind of miss them to the end until you've got some more books. But the ones that you see regularly, you know, your friends, your family, people at the school gates, your neighbours, things like that. So just have a think about who you see on a regular basis. It might even be the person at the corner shop that you go into every day. You only want to leave them for a short period of time when you've got only a few books. I remember when we first joined the business though, 50 was a big number, but not when you're putting out catalogues to total strangers. That's the problem, which is why we say go to people you know, or you know, something similar. We also suggest you might want to leave them for 24 hours. However, and I will say here, if you leave them for 24 hours, there'll be lots of people like me. If you don't hand them in until, for example, a Monday night, and they're at work all day on the Tuesday, so are you, and you go back on a Tuesday night, chances are the person's maybe not had enough time. And if you're handing books to people, they generally say to you, I don't want one. And that really is a bonus, because if they don't want one, you don't want to give them one. Excuse me, sorry. Pardon me. Lynn, can you take a note? Acquaintances is spelt wrong.
Oh, I didn't notice that. Okay.
Excuse me. So if you're doing your books, 2 days later, and there's lots of things you can do before those books arrive. We've all got retailing templates. Lynn has hers at the Viva MK support site, and your own sponsor will possibly have theirs on a support site too, but they should all look fairly similar. Very few differences. We've been doing it for a long time. They've all been tweaked as much as they need to be tweaked. So just take a note of those templates and put them into a folder in your documents in your PC so that you can access them whenever you need them. And so too, that you can add your name, your online Facebook group, if you have one, or if we're going to make one up with you. Sorry I missed you. Thank you for your order, and you'll see those in a minute. Print off 3 weekly planners. Why 3? Well, even shift workers, pardon me, generally have shifts that will work in a 3 to 4 week cycle. It's also habit forming. 21 days forms a habit. Sorry, I'm really sorry. Anything less than 21 days, you've not quite got there yet. So that's why we say 3 weekly planners. All the documents will be in Microsoft Word, so they're easy to work with. And there's a list of all the templates that we have. You're going to do your weekly planner first. Oops. You are going to do your weekly planner first. And remember, put in your school run, when you pick the kids up for swimming, when you take your mum out, whatever you do that you do on a weekly or daily basis, put it in there. Even the small things, because it's the small things that really can throw your whole planner out. So when we say your own commitments, that's exactly what we mean. The meetings and the trainings, well, we have a meeting once every 4 weeks in Scotland, and those trainings will also run in England and Ireland too, and Lynn has those dates. Your retail plan, well, that's what we're going to talk about. And also, if you want to build a business, then that's what we call activity. And this is when it all goes in. Oh, there we go. So now we're going to have a look at your books. Make every pack exactly the same. Not because we are always, not because we're pernickety, but when you pick those packs up, you can see at a glance if someone's looked at it. And this is an important part of you getting your customer base started. The labels, you'll perhaps want to do those on your own printer. However, I've used a stamp in all the time we've been doing it. It's great for order forms. You can order them for about £20. The ink pads you can replace. They really are super, and I find them really great. I'm not very good with labels and printers. They get jammed. My printer is then useless. For 50 books, you'll need 17 A4 sheets. That's all. Print them or photocopy them, it's entirely up to yourself. What we do is, what we call a callback, is the thing that we put at the front of the catalogue to tell people who you are and when you're coming back. So you put that at the front of the catalogue so it's easily seen. Then you have your main book with the pictures popping out, and your order form at the back, clearly visible. Please don't put it in the middle of your book where the customer has to look for it. We're only putting those catalogues out to collect orders. It's not a puzzle. We want the customer to see why we're putting them out. You can use your highlighter pen to highlight your telephone number and or your email address. On the front of our callbacks, I've got my Facebook shop as well, because then they can find me, and customers do find you. There's 2 ways that we can deliver those catalogues. Both of them are really, really simple. It is a very simple business. Posting is popping it through the letterbox just like the postman, and placing's knocking on the door and handing the catalogue over. If you're going up farm tracts or very rural areas where the houses are dotted about, please don't put them through the letterbox. Please knock on the doors. There's no point in you travelling 15 minutes to a remote house or to pop it through the door, returning 2 days later to either find them away on holiday or telling you that really they don't use the catalogue, but thank you very much. Try to maximise the efficiency that you use, because remember, the majority of people do this as an add-on to their daily life. And I remember when we started, we were busy. We both worked full time. My mum was elderly. There was lots of things that we did with our life. So we were busy. I don't know why we thought we weren't going to be even busier when we started doing something else. So remember, you're doing it to free up time, which it did with us, but we were busier to begin with. How do you feel about knocking doors? I was horrified, and I would think I'm not unique. The thought of walking up somebody's path and knocking their door, gosh, most people haven't done that. So we had to devise a very simple system, but Jim was better at it than I was. All we did was knocked on the door and said, "Hi, I'm delivering a Viva MK catalogue and I'm collecting them on Wednesday," but I held the catalogue up here. So people virtually had to assault me to get a hold of it. Whereas Jim, after he said, "Hi, I'm collecting them on Wednesday," he handed them out. And as soon as you hand them out, people take them. And that's what you want them to do. Most people do choose to pop them through letterboxes. However, the reason we tell you how to place them is quite simply, you do only have 50 catalogues. So you want to have a look at the area around where you're going to deliver those catalogues. If you want to deliver 200 catalogues every week, twice a week, something like that, you'll need 400 houses every week, which means over your 2-week, your 5-week cycle, you're going to cover a lot of houses. And I'm deliberately not mentioning the number. It's a big figure, but it gets smaller. So start close to home. Don't drive past houses to put your catalogues out. The people in the houses close to you breathe the same air, buy from the same shops, and don't jump around. Walk down one street, cross the road, walk up the next side of the other side of the street, turn the corner and down the next street. Deliver to every house, unless of course the house is empty. Don't worry about no cold callers, no salespeople. They generally mean people that are not delivering a catalogue. Some people don't want the catalogue, but they will let you know, which is fine. And you won't see just as many companies around there now, but any that you do see, ignore them. And of course, you want to keep good records from day one. Oops, sorry. Prepare your catalogues the day before you're going to deliver them. Quite simply because it takes longer than you initially think. If you're coming home from work, your catalogues have been delivered at 6 o'clock at night, and you're going to make them up and then you're going to deliver them, you'll find that you might not be out in that street until 7:30. That's maybe a wee bit too late. So let's get that weekly planner sorted for going out the day after you get those catalogues delivered. Know where you're going. Once you've made that decision, don't change your mind. Don't. That puts you off track. It makes you wonder what you're going to do. Stick to your decision once it's made. Even if you see other Viva MK catalogues, stick to that decision. It's simpler in the long run. Wear blinkers. Streetmark.com is a great thing. It tells you how many houses there are in any particular street, and it'll give you the numbers, so you'll have a better idea of where you're going, how many books you'll need for that street, that type of information. So here you are, here's your weekly planner. You might want to, for example, if you're doing, once you get your 150 free books, you've got a couple of 100 books, put them out on a Friday, collect them back in on a Monday. On a Monday, you won't get all of your books. Depending on areas, you'll collect anything from 50 to 75%, roughly. So, any you don't get on Monday, pick them up on Tuesday. When you're putting them back out again, when you're putting the books back out, the books you put out on Tuesday, pick them up on Thursday. Any you don't get in on Thursday, call back for them on Friday. We like to try and leave it only for a day. Why? Because the people you're giving those books to are also busy. So therefore, their short-term memory means, oh, they've been today for the catalogue, oh, she wants it tomorrow, I'll put it out just now. And that's generally how things work. If you're going back again, and at first we do recommend that you call back twice for your catalogues, you might want to try those that you didn't get on Monday, you've tried on Tuesday, try again on Wednesday. This is only for a short time, that second call back. It's only for a short time, particularly the first 5 weeks. Once you've completed the first 5-week cycle, it becomes much simpler, much simpler. With 50 books, you might only want to leave them for a day because you've got few books. And if you're handing them to people that you know, that's a great thing to do, particularly if you're going to see them the next day. If you're popping them into households that you don't know the people, it sometimes can be too short. However, if you want to try that, that's what to do. Speak to your sponsor, have a chat about it, and see what you think. But that makes your books work much harder for you, because if you're putting them out on Monday and you're picking them up on Tuesday, putting them out on Tuesday, bringing them in on Wednesday, and so on, right along the week, then with those 50 books, you're then going to use them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. So your 50 books, you'll get 200 out that week, because there will be some of them that you'll never see again, unfortunately. Your records are really important. Keep them from day one. It's nice and simple. A notebook, not a scrap of paper. Scraps of paper get lost. And the reason we tell you this is because we've done this. That's what we did. That's why I'm saying this system doesn't need tweaked. It's already in place. And all we've done is cut out all the mistakes that we all made. So a notebook, date and street name along the top, and the date the books were dropped. Why? Because you're going back. You're going to total strangers for 5 weeks and you're going back to week 1 again. House numbers down the left margin. When I go out at first, it's sometimes simpler to write 1 to 21 with an arrow pointing in between. 23 didn't want a book, so I write down 23 and put a line through it and start again. But when you go home, make sure that you or your new person writes out each number individually, each house number individually, because you're going to record what they've done. And this is why you make the catalogues up to look the same. If they've looked at the book, I take it, we can each have our own system as long as you know what it means. Unopened is a U. Order is an O. An L is lost, or N, no thank you. Know how many catalogues you've delivered though. Then you can see your averages and know how many catalogues you collect. And we'll see track your retail, and that'll explain it in better detail. Oops. So here you are. Here's a note of how you can fill out your customer record book. Here's track your retail though. So the date you delivered them, how many catalogues you put out, when you collected them, how many did you collect, how much did you get in sales, and what was your average per catalogue. Why is it important? Well, if you want to have £200 of orders and you discover that you're only getting 50 pence a book, then you know that you need to put out 400 books. But if you don't record it, you'll never know what you need. The average with the last company was around £1 in order per sales. And I would think this one too is going to average pretty much the same from blanket dropping. The averages go up once you start cutting the people out who don't want a catalogue, or who indeed you don't want to give the catalogue to, because it does work both ways. It isn't quicker not to record the information. How will you know where you've been 5 weeks later? And it is very time consuming if you don't record it. Some of your catalogues will be outside. Remember, you're going to train the people who are your customers. Those that aren't outside, you can knock the door. Sometimes the people don't have a lot of time. They'll pop a "sorry I missed you" slip through the letterbox telling them that they will be back tomorrow. But if you're going to, if you've got enough time, just quietly knock the door. Not quietly, quickly. Sorry, but not quietly, not at all. You want to be heard. So, and let them know, hi there, I'm here to collect the Viva MK catalogue. If they're not in, pop a "sorry I missed you" slip through the door. If you collect that catalogue and there's an order, remember, give them "thank you for your order" or pop it through the letterbox. Let them know that you picked the catalogue up, that some children didn't run away with it. It also lets them know when you're coming back to give them their order. And if you're new and you're thinking, how do I know when I'm going back? Remember, you've completed your weekly planner, and so it tells you exactly when you're going to be able to do it. Around about 2/3 of the catalogue, perhaps collected first time. In good areas, yeah, you'll get about 160 out of 200. In areas that aren't as used to the catalogue, and not familiar with getting it, then there might be a bit more that you have to go back for. Just make sure you've got enough slips and record the numbers and your results on your retail tracker that we just saw. Before you leave the door, make sure you have a look at the order form. Now, the customer does hide the order form. Why? Well, sometimes it's because they haven't placed an order, and sometimes it's just because that's what they do. But you want to have a look at it, pull the order form out and check and see if there's anything written on it. Lots of people know who they are. Most people know who they are, and they think that you know who they are too, because you've come to their house. They don't realise that one catalogue collected is great, but if you're collecting 50 or even 150, it's not quite so good. It's easy to lose. If you can't see the order form, put a note in your notebook. I write down no order form, but you can choose to do whatever you like. And as I said, remember to give them, that "thank you for your order," and go back for those callbacks that you haven't managed to collect as soon as possible, so that people don't forget again. Some people are on holiday. You'll find though that "thank you for your order," you're delivering your orders, for example, a Thursday night, it's always worthwhile giving the door a quick knock that you haven't collected the catalogue at night time, different time of the day. I've got customers who never leave the book out. They only still get a catalogue because they give me orders. If you're putting them through letterboxes, approximately 1 in 10 people will buy. That's 1 in 10 people of catalogues collected, remember? And the average order is around £10. When you put them in hands, if you're placing them, then you'll get about £2 a book. But you'll have to go through a lot more doors to get out 50 catalogues than if you're popping them through letterboxes. So it swings and roundabouts often. But they do increase as you cross the people off. As you continue to go round that 5-week, or perhaps some people I do know work 4-week, our system is 5 weeks. On the second visit, we'll miss out the people that don't want a catalogue. They might already get one from someone else. Maybe if you haven't collected your catalogue the first time round, you're slithering about whether or not you want to give them another one and lose another book. Well, maybe you want to knock the door. They could have been on holiday, they could have been in hospital. There's any number of reasons why those people don't give you a catalogue back. But you might maybe want to give another wee knock on the door and see whether or not they ever have a look at the catalogue. Third time round, you're going to miss out the people who haven't looked at your book. Now, this is where you're going to be delivering the same number of catalogues. They are going to be spaced out a wee bit more, but instead of delivering 200 catalogues, you'll probably deliver 100, but over 200 doors. And you are starting to get closer to a customer base. Your order value will go up. And this often depends on the area that you're delivering to. When you go for the 4th visit though, you've given everyone a book 3 times. It's 15 weeks by that point, by the time you're starting to go back again. This time you're only going to deliver to the people who have ordered from you. So you'll still deliver to 100 houses, but now you'll pick up about £300 in orders instead of £100. Your customer base, though, will be able to be squashed into 3 weeks of your 5-week cycle. So you want to start blanket dropping, doing every door, just as you did at the very beginning, in weeks 4 and 5 of the cycle. And you just keep doing that. Now, once you've done those 5 weeks or the 4th visit, you keep doing the same cycle. I still cut people off. If someone hasn't ordered in the last 4 visits, they maybe don't want a book. They've maybe decided that they've run out of things that they want to buy. So you want to keep doing that. It's a living thing. You don't just stop once you've done it. And that's when your book, instead of giving you about £3 in orders, we regularly collect £7 per book in orders. But you do have to give it some work to get there. You do get most of your books back in the first pickup. We generally put out less than 50 books every week now to customer base. There are usually 6 books that we don't get back, believe it or not, every single week, regardless of whether it's holiday time or any other kind of time. I can usually say, I need about 6, sorry I missed you, every week. But I did have to go through needing 40, sorry I missed you, to get to the 6. So there you are, we're doing the occasional blanket drop to replace. You want to keep your customer base up to give you the amount of orders that you want to earn on a weekly basis. With your planner, you don't want to change it for minor things. Make sure you're doing your planner carefully so that you know what you're going to do. It's the major things that you need to change it for. It can be juggled though, but you want to be consistent, you want to be regular, and you want to personalise your catalogue. Get your name in front of all of the people that you're delivering that catalogue to. When you're going round, you want your notebook, pencils. Pen doesn't write on wet paper. Sorry I missed you. Thank you for your order. And I remember saying to someone, take a towel with you. And they said to me, oh, I'm so glad I took a towel. It was so wet out there and I dried my hair with it. Well, sorry, it's not for your head. It's for your catalogues, so they don't, so that when you get a wet book, it doesn't soak all the rest of your catalogues and render them useless. And a smile. Even when you're feeling miserable, take a smile with you. Your pickups will vary until you build that customer base. Some weeks they'll be good, some weeks they'll be not so good, and some weeks they'll be downright bad. That's the way it works. But keep a record on your retail tracker and it will balance out. That's why we ask you to keep a record, so that you can see that you've had good weeks, that you've had bad weeks. Catalogues do get lost. £5 for 50 minimum. It's 2 cups of coffee and you've replaced 50 catalogues. So really, it's just keep your catalogues up to the numbers that you're looking for. And just different customers do buy on different days, so don't worry if you see somebody else delivering the same catalogue in the same streets. We don't have territories. You don't need territories. You can go wherever you wish. Some people will do different numbers from you. You'll only see them once and then you'll never see them a time. Sometimes they'll have different cycles as well. Most established distributors only service 300 to 400 customers a month. We have 250, roughly, customers, and they're spread over a fair area. So there's lots of room around us for someone else to build a customer base. So the majority of people don't receive a catalogue. But why is it successful? All of those things, the consistency, the making a plan, the sticking to it, being regular so that customers know that if they're ordering consumable products like spider repellent, you'll be back round in 6 weeks and you'll be able to top up what they're looking for. Be reliable. If you say that you're going back on Monday night, don't arrive on Tuesday morning and say, oh, it was raining last night. Your customer won't be your customer, because if they can't rely on you, then you can't rely on them. It's two-way. As I said, put your name in front of your customers at every available opportunity. And of course we refund or we replace if a customer doesn't like or doesn't find the product does what it says on the box. But do keep good records and build that customer base. Remember their name when you're walking up the path. Have a look at the order form and then you can address them by their name. People like to be called by their name. And add your customers, your catalogue customers to your online Facebook. Lots of my catalogue customers see something online and then send me a message saying, can I have a catalogue, please, Jane? And you think, okay, I like that thing you put online, and you think, well, I could order it online, but they don't. They wait until I go or ask me to bring a catalogue, which is fine. Absolutely great.